The information provided on this podcast is intended to be educational and informational only and is not considered to be formal legal advice. The listener should not take or refrain from taking action based on its content. Any listener in need of legal opinion upon which to rely in decision-making should consider formally engaging an attorney to review relevant facts in detail and examine the pertinent law as it applies to those facts.
Welcome to Real Estate Milestones, where we explore fascinating topics in commercial real estate with knowledgeable industry experts. I'm your host, Ben Malik, and I'm a young real estate professional who is passionate about adding value to people's lives through the incredible power of real estate. My goal is to help you discover what the heck is going on in the industry and how you can get involved. This is Real Estate Milestones, where your future in real estate lies just around the corner. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Real Estate Milestones. Today we have Trevor Thompson, he's been an LP in 17 syndicated deals throughout his experience so far. He has worked at iFly for a while before transitioning to a GP, and he's soon gonna start in his first deal as an active general partner. So thanks for coming on. Where are you coming from, Trevor?
Yeah, Benjamin, nice to be here. I live in Austin, Texas. So originally from Niagara Falls, Canada. Lived in Orlando for a while and been in Austin now for about 14 years.
So that's spoiler alert. I was wondering why Niagara was the name of your business, but now it makes sense.
Niagara Falls, that's it.
Awesome. Well, you have an amazing journey from all I've heard so far on the podcast when as a guest. But could you start by telling us a little bit more about yourself and your story, and we can touch on your first milestone in real estate?
Yeah, so I started out in the attraction entertainment business. So in Niagara Falls at age 13, I started working for Ripley's Believe It or Not. And then 5 years later, I went to Guinness World of Records. And while I was doing Guinness, I managed to open up a couple of franchise locations. I ran one in the Empire State Building in New York City for the parent company, and I did some consulting, opened up some different businesses. And then I moved to Florida. Crazy thing, I opened a year-round haunted house. Wasn't that successful, but I was there for 3 years. And then I got recruited by a headhunter to join iFly Indoor Skydiving with the original owner in their first location in Orlando, Florida. And the kind of cool thing is, on the very first team meeting, the owner gave everybody a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and said, you need to create passive income if you're ever going to get anywhere and be successful in this life. Sadly, I put the book on the shelf and did what a lot of people did, just kept pounding out my, Monday to Friday grind job. Even though I loved working at iFly, I got consumed with a job versus consumed with creating, passive income and personal wealth.
And guys, I tell everyone who's listening to this to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And again, look, we have another example. You gotta read this book, guys. So
the Purple Bible.
Yeah, right. I mean, every single person who's been on this podcast will tell you to read this book. Yeah. So great. So what was your first milestone in real estate?
Yeah. So what happened was I decided at some point in time. So we got bought out by a bigger company, and that gave me my first access to some real capital. And so I decided, okay, I needed to learn about real estate. I knew single family was not something I was interested in. I knew I wanted to join a mentorship program that I could touch, see, and feel the people. So I joined a local mentorship program. They're only in the state of Texas. And their motto was, Texas doing business in Texas. And you don't even know I'm not much of a Texan. I like that idea, right? I like the idea. And so I started, I joined their program. I went through their education and quickly made my first investment through them, which was a 176-door property in San Antonio. So that was my very first passive investment. And I'll be honest, I didn't learn a lot, right? I gave them some money. They had a quarterly call, and I wasn't learning too much about it. And, I'm a very active learner, like to learn things. And so what happened was I ended up in a position where I had some time. And so I went and said, is there any way I could help? Because I knew the apartment complex was struggling. And so I became kind of an assistant to their asset manager, which was perfect, right? This is all okay. I'm finally going to get in here and learn some more. And then, so I went down there, started getting my training, found out all kinds of things were wrong. And unfortunately, that poor asset manager ended up losing his job. Hopefully, it wasn't because of what I found, but it was just things weren't right. And then eventually, they ended up decided they were going to blame the property management company and fire them and self-manage. So all of a sudden, I went from a volunteer to like actively managing a very deep value add, apartment complex with little experience, a lot of business experience, but little experience in the apartment asset management field. And then, of course, this wonderful thing called COVID came along and really shook up my world. So it was just a wild ride. It was something I learned a lot is learn more about what you're investing in. I believed it was literally the first day I went there, I felt like, do I need a gun? Like, I was a little nervous, and it was just, I was like, wow, I actually invested in this. I should have paid attention a little more. And again, you're new, right? And I'm excited, and it looked good, and everything was fine. And we managed to do quite a bit, even through COVID, to get it back. And then eventually we had a disagreement. Seemed to be a scenario with this guy that he would eventually disagree with somebody. And that deal went full cycle. We ended up getting our money back, but we didn't make any money. But at the end of the day, I could not have bought the education I got. 10 months actively managing a deep value add apartment. There's just no way I ever would have got that kind of experience. And I got it without risking anything, right? Just putting in some time and energy and absorbing what I could while I did it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about a little bit before the show, but I mean, when you're in a limited partner in investment, you got all these disclosures you got to sign with all the risks that can possibly come with real estate. Like, we don't think anything's going to go wrong, but there's a chance. Sounds like some of these crazy risks that you could have never foreseen came up in this this deal. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And like, I heard there's a stabbing at one of your deals. Is that,
that's
pretty crazy?
Same place. And so we started really struggling to try to turn the property around. So we had some drug dealers, and we actually they got arrested, but then they released them because of overcrowding and COVID, and they threatened us. So we ended up having armed security on the property, and it was crazy. Luckily, we got them out. Nobody was hurt. Everything was okay. And then one night, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and our property manager, she sends me a text, and it's a news link. And I open up the news link, and there at the beginning of the story for 10 seconds is my property sign, and it says stabbing. And I'm like, oh no, like, we worked so hard to turn around the reputation of the property, and now I'm on the news for a stabbing. And actually, stabbing sounds horrible. At the end of the day, it was two ladies that had too much to drink, and this kind of funny. So the lady who actually got stabbed is who we evicted, because she was a troublemaker. I came into the apartment Monday morning thinking, man, it's all going to break loose. And like a dozen tenants came in and said, I'm glad somebody finally got her. She's, so we evicted her. And, it was just so different of an experience. But yeah, it was a lot. And we really worked hard to make it a safe, family-friendly environment. And, we spent a lot of energy, and we did achieve that. But then, it was very hard for deep value add projects during COVID. I mean, these people truly did lose their jobs. They were the hardest hit.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough situation, and I know the eviction moratorium was tough on landlords, but I guess ultimately there's a pretty big need that it was serving. So yeah, that's definitely important. Right. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting. And it's like, I don't get the perspective of someone who's had so much experience with tenants as you have. So I kind of wanted to hear, like, what have you learned about interacting with tenants in that case? It sounds like you got some good experiences, some bad experiences.
Yeah, so to be honest, I worked really hard not to directly interact with the tenants. They were all told I was the bookkeeper. And,
wow.
Because I didn't want to give away the property manager's power, right? Because then everybody would just come to me with their problems. And She was very experienced property manager. And so, the people would say, who's that guy over there? And she'd say, oh, he's just the bookkeeper. He comes in, because I was always basically on my computer doing other but I was listening to everything that happened. And then, so we could make decisions of what we were going to do, how were we going to deal with it. We worked really hard with tenants that were trying to make good, like saying, okay, listen, you're 3 months behind. If you can give us 50% of the rent, we'll write off the other 50%, because now you got your job back, and just try to catch up and do all these things. So we worked really hard to be proactive. But there were tenants that didn't want to do anything. They even refused to sign where the government would pay their rent, the rent relief. They were just mad and bitter people. And the other funny thing, it's not really funny, it was very heartbreaking actually, but it goes to show sometimes in the different things. So the rent relief, not the rent relief, the relief checks for COVID came in. So I thought, oh man, everybody got a check. I'm going to get some rent paid. That there was 28 big screen TV boxes empty in the dumpster. So like 28 tenants went out and bought a big screen TV instead of paid their rent. And I was like, wow, I learned a little bit of a lesson. And the reason I think this all happened, there's a big difference. We provided them an apartment. We didn't provide them a home. And I think if you can get your properties and make tenants feel like they've come home, they haven't come to their apartment, they've come home where they live. I think there's some sort of pride in that in general people. But when you treat it like, hey, it's kind of an adversarial relationship, we want you to, this and that. And so I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, was to try to change that, right? Where we were trying to help them. And then we started going to food banks and getting money or food and bringing it back to the property, and just little things. And then made me think, after we actually had the first 20 tenants that paid their rent on time, got a raffle ticket for a big screen TV. I thought they like big screen TVs, so let me try to, and then of course we announced the winner, and worried that they might get robbed and the TV stolen, but it didn't happen. So
wow. Okay. There's a lot of there's a lot of great lessons there for sure. I mean, sounds like COVID, just that whole situation, threw a lot of curveballs into the mix. But I kind of want to, touch back on that, because I mean, also an amazing learning experience. But first, how had I know that COVID was one of the catalysts that even led you down this journey in a kind of an interesting way. So I kind of want to touch on COVID and how it affected you personally, but then also how that was just such a powerful, situation where you really had to learn a lot to overcome it.
Yes. So, I was with iFly Indoor Skydiving. I was on the new development. And of course, they stopped all new development, right? Because what's going to happen to the world? Everybody, I remember when COVID happened, we thought, okay, a month, 2 months, 3 months. And I mean, how long has it been? And we're still talking about COVID, right? 2 years. It's 22. And so it's been a big game changer. And then unfortunately, I ended up getting furloughed and then let go because the company had to refocus. They went from development mode to survival mode. And so they had to cut back their resources. I live in Texas, so we got to open up pretty quickly. But some of our locations, like in the West Coast, they were closed for 8 to 12 months. Just because of regulations and government restrictions. And, that was very challenging for the company.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and it's really interesting, because in a way it was a blessing in disguise, because now you've gotten all this amazing learning experiences and able to pivot into real estate. And I guess you even refocused your entire, what you do with your, I guess to make a living even. So, you want to tell us a little bit about how transition from there to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I always have a funny saying. I've said it for a long time in my life, right? If life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And so, I'd always wanted to get in real estate investing, and I procrastinated on it, right? Then all of a sudden I started doing it. Then all of a sudden I lost my job because of COVID. And I always wanted to become a professional full-time real estate investor. I wanted to go on the active side and start syndicating deals. So I just said, listen, I'm almost 60. I don't want to go get another job. I want to be able to focus this. I know this is the right path for me. I've learned enough to do it. So let me be bold enough just to which is hard, right? To step out there and just say, okay, I'm going with it, and, tenaciously pushing along just to make sure that I'm successful in this journey part now. And I believe in everything to do with investing in multifamily. I know it's going to be good for me. I know it's going to be good for my investors. And so I just got to stick with it and take the things that I've learned over the time and apply them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's it's cool that you're following your passions. And I guess what kind of factors or like what resources did you have when at the beginning that really helped you make that transition, you know?
Yeah, so as I said, I joined a local mentoring program, and I kind of outgrew them. They're mostly single family, and they had some commercial, and it wasn't the best fit for what I wanted to do. So then I started searching out other ways to learn, right? So we were talking earlier about Gary Lipsky and his asset management training, and I wanted to be asset manager anyways. So I started listening to his podcast, then I started going to his meetups online, and then he did a 3 week training thing where it was 3 hours every day. I bought the VIP, so I got the recordings. Then I went to a paid thing with him, and then I actually invested in the deal with him. Because again, it just led me down the path. This is what I wanted to learn about. So I sourced out, and then I started seeing who was he connecting with, and all the different types of connections, and and then I started building up and getting. Right now I have a couple of mentors that are different than the ones I started with because they're more ideal for where I am in my situation right now. But I definitely think mentoring everybody has bad things in their program, everything has good things in their program, right? And you need to make a decision what's best for you at your moment in time. And when you outgrow that, you need to have the courage to be able to go do something else, right? Because continual learning is the only thing that's going to get you to the next level.
Right. And I'm sure a lot of people starting out think, like, why do we need a mentorship program? Like, very expensive. Like, how do we validate this? Like, couldn't we find all this information for free online? I mean, I haven't invested in a mentorship program yet, but I've also thought about it because I feel like I want to start using all this knowledge I've acquired. And it's been hard to take that next step by myself. So I kind of wanted to hear what you thought about how to know if there's a mentorship program that fits for you. Like, how do you figure that out? And then, like, what are the things that you look for when you're deciding?
So definitely if you're looking at a mentorship program, you want to start going to their events, right? So I've been to, I'm not a Jake and Gino student, but I went to Jake and Gino, their thing. Got a lot of friends who are Jake and Gino students. They all like Jake and Gino. So I say, hey, if you got some good people in your area, because you want close connection, you want a good coach within the program, and you need the support of a network, right, to get successful. I did Rod Khleif's, again, the Warriors program, they call it. It's a great program. I didn't join it, but I've been to their webinars. Joe Fairless, I went to Best Ever Conference. Earlier we were talking about books. Joe Fairless' best ever syndication book is the best ever syndication book. I mean, it's amazing. And so, I started seeking those out. And then I joined a smaller group that is Austin based, and they do a lot of Central Texas deals. So that was unique for me. And he's actually an author of another book I'm going to recommend, James Kamasamy. It's called Passive Investing. And it's what every first time passive investor should, or new syndicator, because it's what I call it, the simplistic approach of everything you need to know.
Great. That sounds really, it sounds like a really good one. I gotta check it out. And I have a book list on my website, and I'm starting to accumulate all the recommendations from people on the podcast, so I can put it into one place for people to find. So that's a good one. Cool. And so, I mean, how has networking, and I know you've mentioned networking is a big part of your experience, and a lot of our guests have also corroborated that, but I kind of wanted to hear your personal journey. How's networking been the key for you, or a major key?
Again, we talk about COVID and its negative effects, but the positive effect of COVID was amazing, because now I started getting on Zoom meetings at night and started connecting with people all across America. And then all of a sudden I went, wait a minute, there's some people in California that want to do a deal in Texas, but they don't live in Texas. So now I can meet them and say, hey, you want to do a deal in Texas? I know this crazy ambitious guy that wants to come and be part of your team, and let's have a meeting and let's talk and let's connect. And so it definitely broadened my horizon, and obviously in person was non-existent. And then I started going back to some conferences, and it was like, oh, we can touch real people, we're here again, I remember the first conference I went back to, Texas obviously opened up really early. And on the name tags, they had a green sticker, which meant I'm good, come and talk to me, shake my hand. They had a yellow, which meant keep your distance. And they had a red, which meant I'm going to keep my mask on and you keep your mask on and stay 6 feet away from me. But it was cool. Everybody just, but it was funny at the end of it all, people that wore their masks for the whole 2 days when the bar opened, they all took them off. So, it's kind of a fallacy, right? I'm safe for and then all of a sudden for the hour when everybody's having a drink, I'm going to, somehow expose myself and then I've been safe. It's a crazy world, but but definitely, and you want to meet. So at the end of the day, real estate is a team sport. So you need to meet people that fill your needs, right? So my specialty is networking and asset management, right? I can do those things. I'm not an underwriter. I wish I was. I keep trying to learn. I keep buying all the programs. It's just my brain doesn't work that way. You need to find somebody who has, the net worth and the liquidity to be able to get bank loans. And so you need a team of people, a typical GP team has 4 to 8 people on it. And you need to have a good team. And you're going to be doing a deal that is like 5 years. It's like, but marriages sometimes don't last 5 years, and you're going to be in business with somebody. So luckily mine did. I'm actually Monday, 42 years. So
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you have some experience picking teammates. So I guess you want to tell us a little bit about how you do that and how you know that you're besides the skills aspect, but how do you know
Yeah.
you're going to work
So
together
I
well?
always start out with skill based, right? Because I need a skill. But at the end of the day, skill based is only part of the equation, right? It's, do you think the same? Do you want the same things? Do you have the same set of values? So you really want to make sure that you're involved with people that share your core principles, right? There are things that I just won't do. There are things I just won't do. And so when I talk to people, I say, listen, these are things that are important to me. Are they important to you? And then we all talk about, are they, they're important. And you want to make sure that everybody on the team, we all have the same things that are important to us.
Yeah, that's definitely very important. And I know it's like technically everything sounds like it would work perfect on paper, but human connection is not a logical paper thing. It's definitely a lot more. So that makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely does. And and again, life's too short to work with people you don't want to work with. I mean, it's just too short, right? Surround yourself with like-minded people that believe the same things as you, and you can be unstoppable.
Yeah, I really like that, and I think about that a lot. And it's been great this semester because I've met a lot of people who share similar aspirations. And it's like now having some friends who are thinking like me. It's like, wow, it's like we can like go for it together, and it feels really good.
It's empowering, right?
Very, very much so. And I guess one thing about what you said, I kind of want to push back on or dig deeper in. Like, do you think that finding people that think the same or have a lot of similarities in their thinking, does that expose you to any risks in terms of like, wait, we all see it the same way. What if it's a different way? Is it
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
good to
So
have
there's a
that?
big, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There's a big difference between think the same and the same values. You don't
mhm,
want to be with people that think the same.
right.
You want to be with people that are willing to challenge you. You want to have a relationship where I challenge you, you challenge me. But at the end of the day, if it ever comes down to a decision, the decision is always based on our principles and values, right? So if we're going to make a decision that violates those, that's a no-win. Nobody's going to get that, and we have to find a way that sticks to our values. So you definitely want people that are not the same as you. You want to have the conservative guy that always says we can't, that's not going to work. And you always want the optimist guy that says, man, we can do anything we want. And then there's somebody in the middle who's the realist. And you need all of that diversity to have a good team, and you need good flow. But at the end of the day, what you need is the matching principles, matching values. And those are the things that are gonna, at the end of the day, when it's hard to agree, at the end, the only thing you're not going to compromise is your principles and values, right? I may lose the argument, but I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't violate my principles and where I want to be.
Right. And I really think that's a powerful point because when I'm thinking about the people who I like to be around and I grow with, it's like we have the same values of growing and learning and trying to be challenged in different ways. So it's like some people can't really, don't really like any sort of challenge because it's an emotional experience. But the people that I'm growing with, we all want to be challenged. So it's like, if I see someone doing something wrong or like that doesn't align with what they're trying to accomplish, which happens to be similar things that I want to accomplish, I can say, no, that's not right. And they're not going to be offended, right? Because they know that my values is that I'm trying to help people, I'm trying to help them. And, we understand the relationship where we're trying to grow together. So then that challenge, it's like, I don't really have to like sugarcoat it. It's just like, yeah, like this is functional. Like we're supposed to challenge each other. We're supposed to grow together. So that's a really good point.
And one of the cool things when I worked at iFly, that our owner for a long period of time, he was very much on like challenging things and reassessing everything. And so we used to have these meetings that were start, stop, and continue. So I would tell you, I want you to start doing this. I want you to stop doing this. And what you're really doing that's bringing a big value to the team is this, and I want you to continue it. And it was amazingly insightful because you really wanted to, when you're telling somebody to stop something, that's a pretty big thing to do. And telling them to start something, you're challenging them to take something to the next level. And then, of course, you want to end with continue. So this is what you're bringing to the team, man, and bring it on. Keep it coming. Like put the gas pedal full down. And it was a really interesting way, and it really built a strong team dynamic because you would think through that, and you would, and everybody wanted to really give you 3 things that were going to change your life and take you to the next level. And that's what a team does.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I mean, I've never heard that I guess that framework before. I mean, could you give us like an example where you apply that? So
I want you to, so I was passive aggressive. I'm a passive aggressive guy. So I want you to stop being passive aggressive. And then you would always have to bring it up with let me tell you where you were passive aggressive with me. And it really did that. Okay. And then I want you to, we had a person that was late all the time, always late, drove me crazy. I'm a fanatic on being on time. I want you to start showing up on time. I want you to respect my time. When you're late, I want you to feel like you've disrespected me, because my values are that if we have a 10 o'clock meeting, you're going to be there at 10 o'clock. And I'm not going to be sitting there wondering if you're showing up and doing it. And then a continue would be, man, you've been working on this project. It's rocking and rolling. And I want you to take that project to the next level.
Yeah, I really like that. That's awesome. And I guess, I mean, for you now, what's your next milestone in real estate, or what are you trying to accomplish?
So I'm trying to do my own syndicated deals. I'm not a big enough guy yet to be the lead sponsor, but I want to be on some deals. I'm working on like 4 deals right now, and very interested in being, I want to switch over to be on the active side. That's my goal. I'm going to back up. I'm always going to passive invest, right? If I teach everybody that you should passive invest and I stop, I'm a kind of a hypocrite, aren't I? So my goal is to always spread some of my risk and passively invest in other deals. But I want to get a little more balance, right? Like I'd like to have, 6 or 7 active deals and 6 or 7 passive deals, and then kind of play along depending on what happens in life. And of course, my ultimate goal is eventually just to be passive, right? That's my ultimate goal. Eventually, I'm not going to want to go manage apartments or do different things. So my goal is to, have, and that's my legacy wealth that I'm leaving to my family, right? So, mine is to turn it into something like, I'm Walgreens landlord or whatever. And it's just this rent check comes and it goes to my kids. And, that way they don't have to know how to run an apartment complex, right? And that's kind of where I'm going to leave my legacy for them.
I know I'm only 20, but I've also thought about switching into triple net at some point, and then later down. So yeah. So I guess in terms of on the active side and what you're trying to pursue now, how are you finding these partners and what are you bringing to these teams? And like I just want to get into a little bit more detail of what you're doing on these GP.
So I have different groups that I work with. I have one group that loves smaller properties. They're okay as small as 10 properties. Don't want to get much bigger than 48 properties, and they really like those. So I look for deals in Central Texas to do with that group, because that's their kind of wheelhouse. That's what they want to do. They want to own a bunch of smaller things, and they'd like to own them all in the same city, so there's some synergy with it. And then I've got another group of partners, they kind of like the 72 to 100. All the gurus teach you to look for 100 and above. So we're trying to stay under the niche at 72 to 100, staying away from the big money boys, but it's still big enough that you can have an on-site property manager, and then I've got another partner. He's only thinking big, right? He's development. He's 200 plus units. And on those type of deals at this level of my life, I would be the smaller partner, right? I would be the guy that they would bring in, because once you get those big, it's a different level, right? So they don't need they definitely need the attention, but they may need a different skill set than I have.
Mhm. So yeah, so what are you for? Let's stick with that last partner you mentioned. So are you investing as part of the GP with your own capital? But like, are
Always
you
never invest in a deal where the general partnership doesn't have their own money in the deal, their own skin in the deal, and it should be more than their acquisition fees. So
Mhm.
acquisition fees is the fee you get for doing a deal, and they should get acquisition fees because there's a lot of risk in setting up deals and things go wrong and you can, I'm on a deal right now and it fell apart, and as a group we're going to lose $500,000. It's significant, right? No investors lost money, but our goal is let's go find the next deal and make that money back up, right?
Right.
And let's do it. It's sort of part of the risk reward of being on the active side versus the passive. So but it's very important to be able to understand the whole picture, and be able to get there. But I want to be on a team that I bring value to the team. I've been invited to join deals where I'm just a capital raiser. I'm not bringing any value to the deal. And if I'm not actively managing the deal, I don't feel comfortable enough to have my friends and family invest in the deal because, I just don't know enough about that deal at that time.
Right, that's a really good point. So are you bringing in your asset management capacities when you're part of the GP?
Yeah. So that's my goal. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about what that entails?
Yeah. So basically, as a group, you look at a piece of property and then you make a business plan. And the business plan is different depending on what's going on, right? Normally it's we're going to improve apartments, we're going to increase the rents, we're going to reposition the property, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and here's our timetable to do it. And here's the people we're going to hire to go do it. So an asset manager basically takes the business plan and executes it. Okay, so everybody in the team is still involved in it, but there's one guy, right? So, okay, what by when? I always say what by when. So you're going to have this apartment finished by Friday. I'm going to come to the apartment complex Friday and look at all the apartments that you think are finished. And then I'm going to critique your work so we can constantly improve it. I'm going to say why we're full. Why can't we increase the rents, right? Because we're at 100% or 98% capacity. Let's push the envelope. Hey, we need to do this. We need to do that. I'm the one that's going to say, okay, let's do a tenant survey and find out what the tenants want. And then I'm going to go implement what the tenants want to give them, so they're the person that executes the business plan, and they execute it with the support of their team, right? Because you still need to, when you're doing your CapEx improvement budgets, somebody needs to talk to the bank to get the money released, and it needs to all be systematic. But at the end of the day, the asset manager is the one that executes the business plan, which is how we all make money, right? If you don't
Right.
execute the business plan, you just buy apartments and stand there and look at it and go, well, I thought it would go okay. It's not going to, right? You have to have a plan, and that plan takes a lot of work and hard work to execute the plan. But once you start executing it, it will eventually go on kind of cruise control, right? So the first 3 or 4 months, in the deal that I was on, we had an 18-month plan, and it was a very strict timetable because our goal was to get out in 3 years on that deal. And
Sure.
if we didn't execute, if it took 24 months, we're not going to get out in time because we haven't executed efficiently.
Right. And you learned the hard way the importance of the operations and the asset management. So
Yeah.
that's really powerful. And I know that a lot of people who may not even have been putting too much emphasis on operations or asset management have been decently okay given the amazing increase in the market since the last crisis. But that's not gonna last forever. And really where the people who are not gonna get taken under are the ones who are gonna have tight business plans that they actually execute well.
Yeah, good operators are, the market's changing, and good operators are more important than anything.
Of course. Well, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, I am.
Awesome. So what superpower would you want if you could choose any superpower?
Man, superpower, read people's minds.
Yeah, that could be helpful as an
What's
asset
that person
manager.
thinking? May not want to, because I may not like what I hear, but
Yeah.
if I had a superpower, man, I'd like to be able to read your mind, because I like to connect with people and then try to fulfill, what, I don't know, that one Star Trek thing where the guy could feel your pain, or, and it was like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it might be helpful as an asset manager. So who's not planning to pay your rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, preeminently evict them. That's funny. Well, what's your favorite book or ones? Well, I know we've covered a couple, but is there another book that's helped you the most?
Yeah. So the most powerful book, you got to do it in Audible, and I'm going to give you two books. I'm going to cheat. So you got to read Grant Cardone's 10X, do it in Audible. And
Right,
then
he's
when
so
you're done doing
inspiring.
Grant Cardone's 10X, you got to listen to Be Obsessed or Be Average. Basically, it's the answer to all the 10X questions. Love them or hate them. A lot of people hate them. Those two books are life changing. And then I mentioned the two real estate books that I like. And there's lots of other books. If I could give one shout out to another one, it's called The Go Giver. And it
Oh yeah.
talks about, giving people things and, adding value to people's lives. It's a pretty good book.
Awesome. That's a lot of great stuff. So what motivates you to continue every day?
I just got this passion to succeed, right? I'm obsessed with like getting to the next level, succeeding. I'm just like, I'm at my computer every morning at 5 a.m. I do Zoom calls at night. I'm just super obsessed with achieving the goal. And then, I really want to be able to achieve the go implement the business plan, because when I do that, right, there could be 30 or 50 people invested in my deal. And when they all go make money, they can do what the reason they want to. Some want to retire, some want to pay their kids' education, some want to donate it to help animals, whatever there is. At the end of the day, if I execute the plan, 30 to 50 people got a contribution to their why. I mean, think of the power of paying it forward, right? You doubled their money in 5 years and you let them fulfill what they need. And they could just need to pay the bills, or they could have some higher mission. And that's not me to decide what they do with it, but it's for me to be a good steward of their money, to give them the opportunity.
Yeah, and that's something that draws me to real estate as well. And I even think the value of improving the lives of the tenants and having them wake up in a place where they feel happy and that they have the things that they want, and the simple things too. I just think real estate's an incredible, powerful way to add value to people, and it's something I'm passionate
Great.
about.
Instead of saying, come over to my apartment, come over to my home.
Right, exactly. It's amazing. So what advice would you give someone who wants to follow in your footsteps?
So start when you're your age, right? So there's a big saying, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. If I'd have started at your age, I'd be like total night and day lifetime change difference. Real estate appreciates over time. It's a good thing. And I didn't start early enough, right? I mean, even I was in my 40s and I got that Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I sat on it for a long time. And boy, it's a big regret, So don't wait to buy real estate and wait. And yes, when you're younger, you may have to buy one deal and wait 5 years for that one to succeed, and then put it into two deals, and then another 5 years but eventually, if you started at your age, just think of it, right? If you could, in theory, double your investment every 5 years, and you started out with, let's just say, $10,000, it's life altering.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, part of me has a trepidation about how far asset prices have already come, and maybe it's not the time to do it. But I also have high conviction that it will be higher 40 years from now. So
Yeah,
maybe
right.
that's.
And there's lots of ways for young people to start, right? There's house hacking, Bigger Pockets, man. They created beautiful plan, right?
Oh, yeah.
So go buy a house, rent it out to tenants. Go buy a duplex, rent out next door, and rent out tenant. And when you get married and got your own family, you buy a fourplex and you live in one. And I got a friend who started that way, and he's got 130 homes with infinite returns. Infinite returns
Right.
means he's bought it, he's rehabbed it, he's refied it, took all his money out, and he's got 130 homes with his debt on all of them. He's never refied them after the first one, but he's got infinite returns. Cash just pours in and he said his first year he bought one house, and then his next year he bought, and then he just kept going.
Right. That's amazing. And one of my new favorite metrics is the payback period. It's like how many years till I get all my money back. And now everything is just like sprinkles on the ice cream or whatever, icing on the cake. So yeah. Well, since I put you on the spot, I want to give you a chance for revenge. So ask me anything you want to know about me.
So what are you studying in school?
I'm studying finance, management, and philosophy. And I know it's a wacky mix, but I think it has
a mix, but that's a crazy mix, right? Not too many financial guys are into philosophy.
Yeah, and I think it's a big problem in a way, because part of what I think is so cool about finance and philosophy together is that your models are only as good as the assumptions you make in them. And I mean, like, philosophy is a logical process of how do we figure out what we don't know yet, and to really be able to educate your models with a different way of thinking than anyone else who's making these models. Like, you really can unlock some amazing potential and mitigate some like powerful risks. And I think that synergy is underrated. And that's my little elevator pitch for why finance and philosophy. But I think the real reason might be, once I have enough passive income, I can just read Plato on the beach all day.
See, I don't even want to do that. It's bizarre. I have no desire to go sit on a beach somewhere. No desire. Now I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, but I have no desire to go play on a beach all day. My brain just doesn't work that way. But I want to be able to I want to be able to say, I'm not going to do anything today, or I'm going to go here or go there. But yeah, it's funny. It's just the way I'm wired. When they show those retirement pictures, I definitely want to take vacations and sit on the beach once in a while. But I like to keep my mind active and doing stuff.
Yeah, well, to me, I very much can keep my mind active doing philosophy, because I think philosophy is an active, it's the love of wisdom, it's the constant love of growing and learning. And I think that just the freedom to be able to work on myself, because you don't have to be pushing buttons all day necessarily, but then also it's like I can do my real estate business from the beach just on my phone, and that's the flexibility of where I can go as well. I mean, I guess COVID helps a lot with that too, but it's like, maybe I feel like I need to take a week off to be more productive when I come back. And I have the flexibility because I can still my family's still fed, even if I take that break to even be able to be more productive in the future. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to stop working, just because I already know I love what I am working on. So it's a game in a way. So it's really fun and exciting. Well, this has been an amazing interview so far, and we've got so much incredible insight, and I'm really excited for everyone to learn a lot from this. But you have any final remarks you want to leave the audience with?
Just if you want to reach out, I'm active on Facebook and LinkedIn, Trevor Thompson. My company is Niagara-investments.com, and my email is just simply ktt@Niagara-investments. So if you want to reach out and learn more about passive investing, I'm happy to do it.
Awesome. And all that will be below in the show notes. So feel free to reach out to Trevor. Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. And
my pleasure.
Yeah. And everyone and Trevor, keep making milestones. All right. Awesome. Bye-bye.